excited to be here today to see a lot of people attending Singapore Global Azure Bootcamp. Thank you, sponsor. We have so many sponsors this year, and after the event, we would like to ask you to go to the survey link to give your feedback. That helps us to, in terms of building a better Azure Bootcamp in the upcoming year, next year. We also have some gifts here. After you have give your feedback, you may have a chance to receive the gift that we have from our sponsor. All right, just a little bit about myself. My name is Thuan. I'm working for FPT Software. The company specializing in software development and things related to information technology. So in my company, I help people build a digital workplace using Microsoft product and a technology. For example, SharePoint as a collaboration platform, Exchange as email communication, or Skype for Business as the messaging. I also works in EMS enterprise mobility suite that help to build a mobility solution. So you can contact me in the personal email, thuan@outlook.com, or I have a box here in the URL, and you can ask my link here. Okay, the first thing I would like to talk about is why Azure for SharePoint deployment. And I have seen many people have just a misuse and a misunderstanding of SharePoint farm in Azure. First, let's have a look at the cloud model these days. This is very you probably familiar with the cloud model, this model. So for on-premises, you are responsible for many things, all of things you have to build infrastructure. You have to plan for application, you have to build your database, or you have to be aware of the operating system or the whole virtualization department. But, so with infrastructure, and I'm talking about the Microsoft Azure cloud model. So with infrastructure, what you have to cover application, you have to deploy, you have to build your SharePoint application or a .NET application. You have to cover the data, you have to design the database, you have to choose the proper operating system, and the virtualization, the server storage, networking, or things like that are managed by Microsoft. And for platform and service, you only manage application and data, and the rest is managed by Microsoft and software services like Office 365. You don't have to care anything related to building infrastructure, choosing the good storage, brand name, or anything related to storage or networking, because software in the software as a service model, you only care about the users and the number of users that software. For SharePoint Cloud Continuum, so we have basically 3 models, and in the past, before the Azure was released, and even the Office 365, we have only 3 models. The first model is SharePoint on-premises. You are to host everything in your own infrastructure. You choose the storage, you choose the network devices, you host everything you build, the high availability, disaster recovery, everything's in your own infrastructure. But you also have a different option for hosting SharePoint. You can work with a different vendor, like let's say Rackspace, FPWeb, or different company providing private data center for your SharePoint. So the value proposition for hosting SharePoint on premise is that you cover everything. You can build a reliable infrastructure. You can deploy. You can secure your data, because data is not hosted in anywhere else. And for the SharePoint IaaS, I mean the SharePoint is hosted somewhere in a company providing private data center. So the value proposition is that you don't have to worry about the hardware. The hardware is responsibility of that vendor. You care about the cost that you have to pay for private for that company. But from the private, the SharePoint, the second model, you can still you have a chance to build your own high availability as needed. So move on to the Office 365. The value proposition is you rely on the whole infrastructure as Microsoft Cloud Data Center. You utilize the hardware, resources, the virtual network, everything from Microsoft. You don't care about the hardware, you don't care about how your application hosted in Office 365 is highly available or things like that. Okay, so let's talk about the benefit of Azure for SharePoint deployment. So with Azure, the first thing that you may know is that you can build SharePoint and Azure very quickly. Yes, and later I will just introduce just a little bit. In Azure, Microsoft, build a reliable and available infrastructure and platform that supports a number for key server applications, for example, Active Directory and SharePoint, SQL Server, or so on. Any Microsoft product and a technology like CRM as well. SharePoint, the Microsoft Azure, the infrastructure under is built on, as far as I know, in Intel. Yes, the chips and the CPU is under Intel technology. And Azure provides you just the Azure storage manageability. You can add more to this if you want. Let's say, you require more space for hosting, a lot of content databases in SharePoint. You can add very quickly and easily. And high availability in Azure is similar like you build in your infrastructure, but just has just a pretty different component. And Azure provides just the FBA network, and you can go to the Azure portal, create a virtual network, DNS. You can, establish the VPN side to side between on-premises infrastructure and your Azure hosted server farm. And migration is pretty easy. You just export the VM side from Azure, and you can copy and import into different subscriptions as well. You can migrate the resource group across the West region. These are what I have seen today in terms of server farm deployment scenario. The first thing is that the first scenario is you can use Azure to build a POC development, a test environment, while the production environment may be hosted in your on-premises. You can go to Azure to create new virtual machine, provision the VM, and get your developer into Azure hosted SharePoint development form to build something. Then, buy the back and deploy in on-premises production. Yes, and for BOC as well, you can demonstrate your application in Azure, and every time if you don't need that, you can just turn off the host form. And the second scenario that people are looking at is disaster recovery. So imagine you have the on-premises SharePoint farm, and you don't want to spend a lot of money for building a secondary data center on-premises, right? In this case, Azure is one of the good options for you. You can replicate your form, 3D or whatever from on-premises to Azure very quickly using Hyper-V and System Center. And for internet facing, this is one of the very most common scenarios that I have seen. So imagine if you want to build a SharePoint, the public facing SharePoint solution, right? You need to think about the scaling, right? Because your website is going to be published to the internet and a lot of people accessing your website, right? You have to care about the traffic, you know, the high traffic coming. So let's say you want to roll out an event and you build it on SharePoint, you publish to the internet, yes. And you have two options on premises, but the financial budget is limited. You don't have much money for building just a really a highly scalable infrastructure, handling just let's say 2,000 or 5,000 users at the same time. Yes. The second option is Office 365. Previously, I mean in the past, many organizations build the public-facing website under Office 365, right? But recently, Microsoft deprecated the publish feature in Office 365. I'm not sure, maybe because they don't want to just Microsoft doesn't want to be responsible for hosting a lot of public-facing website because it consumes so much memory. Yes. That's why the Azure, the Azure hosted server form for public-facing scenario is one of the good options. Yes. And the next scenario is building the app to support Office 365 or on-premises environment. For example, you utilize the Azure Media Services to provide end user, the video, great video experience or live streaming or conversion, or you build the app in Office 365 and you connect to Microsoft to SharePoint on premises. And the next one, this is great. It's great. I want to break because people still look at the Azure for SharePoint intranet deployment, but consider the cost. Yes, if you have just a large SharePoint intranet deployment, to consider the cost, for example, storage and disaster recovery and things like that I will talk about later. Okay, so for development and test environment, the most common scenario is you have a shared production server on premises, I just mentioned earlier. You don't want to replicate the similar environment in your on-premises, right? Because the hardware resources is limited, or the finance, your CFO doesn't approve, the budget. Then the option is to create the development environment in your Azure. You get the developer into developing the application, combine the package, and deploy the production environment. Yes, and you turn off your VM every time that development is not using. Yes. You can very quickly create a SharePoint form in Microsoft Azure. Just go to Azure portal, new VM, and search for SharePoint template, the HR form. For DR, this is the model. This is the model that Microsoft recommends. Let's say you. This is not DR. Just forget the picture. This is not for DR. But for DR, for SharePoint on premises, as I mentioned earlier, you have SharePoint on premises, and you want to replicate your form in Azure. So Microsoft fully supports the copy of your form in Azure, and you have a way in the System Center to very quickly replicate the copy of your form in Azure. And SharePoint internet facing side, as I mentioned earlier. So, people use Office 365, they want to rely on the Microsoft infrastructure to build, highly scalable public-facing website, right? But recently, Microsoft deprecated public website feature. Yes. And if you build in on premises, you have to care about the high availability. You don't want your website to go down, or you don't want to. Don't want to go down. Okay. Support Office 365 and SharePoint on premises. So let's say you have SharePoint on premises. You don't want to build just a server responsible for converting the video or responsible for live streaming. Yes. You can use Azure. You can utilize from a number of different Azure services to work with your server on premises. For example, Azure Media Services, you can connect from server on premises to Azure Media Services to utilize from the media services for live streaming, video conversion, or things like that. You can utilize Azure Mobile Services to just connect your SharePoint mobile. Connect your SharePoint app is running on mobile to the Azure and store the data in Azure SQL. You have any question? All right. Just go to planning for SharePoint form. So every time that's when I plan for my SharePoint farm, these are what I need to look at. The first thing is farm topology. So let's say you want to deploy your farm in 3-tier architecture to meet the security policy, or you want to just separate the tier to provide, to achieve the high performance. The second thing is identity management. What is the identity provider for your SharePoint form, and the identity provider storing the user accessing your SharePoint application. The next thing is basic continuity and the performance. You wanna, if you have a requirement for building high availability for your SharePoint and disaster recovery because your SharePoint is just missing critical application. So basic continuity is one of the key areas for SharePoint form deployment and performance and capacity. Yes. Maintenance and operation, including how you back up your SharePoint form and how you monitor your SharePoint form to make sure if something goes down, you will receive notification, for example. And the last thing is pricing. Yeah. So these key areas can be applied when you want to build your SharePoint form in Azure. Yes. So this is the Azure concept for SharePoint topology planning. I mean, before you build your SharePoint, these are what you have to plan first. So you see just a few things that have been changed after the Azure Infrastructure as a Service version 2 is released. For example, you don't see the affinity group. You don't have cloud services because we have regional virtual network, which replaced the affinity group, and we don't have cloud service in the new version of Azure Infrastructure as a Service. All right. So in the version 1, in Azure IaaS version 1, you would probably be familiar with using classes deployment. Yes. And as a part of this, you still see the VM classes. You see the virtual network or several classes resources in the existing Azure portal. But as of the Azure IaaS version 2, a few things have been changed, including affinity group, the cloud service, and one of the things that Microsoft come up is a resource group and Azure Resource Manager. Yes. So in Microsoft Azure, the Azure Resource Group include the number of different resources. For example, VM, virtual network, storage. Yeah. Before you can create a VM, the virtual network, a virtual machine, you need to create a new resource group. Yes, or you can select from the existing resource that you have. So the big advantage of using resource group is that you can declare your environment, your infrastructure you're gonna build. For example, you can declare the VM size, the storage type, the standard or premium storage or things like that. Yes, and you can import, the templates into Azure. Then Azure help you automatically provision the whole infrastructure. And not to be confused with regional virtual network. With the keeping virtual resources close proximity. I mean, resource group is different from regional VNet. Sorry. Okay. The next thing you need to plan is the photo network. You have to define where your SharePoint is going to be hosted and where's the active directory. I mean, if there any hybrid scenario you want to have, let's say you have the active directory on premises and you have your SharePoint hosted in Azure. I mean, this model you can see the hybrid model. Yes. For example, one of the hybrid model that in SharePoint is the Office Web App Server deployment. Yes, you cannot. In terms of licensing, you cannot deploy the Office Web App Server in the Azure, which is your SharePoint. Yes. Even you can, install the Office Web App, connect your SharePoint by your SharePoint form in Azure, but in terms of licensing, Microsoft doesn't allow. Yes. For both the network, you need to keep, to maintain your IP chains. I mean, if the VM is suddenly restarted, so or the VM is deallocated, then the IP address of that VM is changed. To keep the VM, the VM to maintain the IP address, you can, you reserve IP address. Yes, and in many cases, you have to use reserve IP address for AD domain services and DNS. Yeah. And for plan for security, you need to plan for different subnet. Yeah. To separate the application tier, web tier, things like that. The next thing is the VM. So it's very similar like any cloud platform. Amazon, AWS, or Rackspace. Azure still has a number of different VM size. So they have the size, the Series A, the Series D, DS series, and recently G series. You can go to this URL to see what the Azure is providing these days. So each VM has a maximum number of disks and IOPS. So before you can choose the drive VM for your, let's say for your search, for your web finance server, you need to check the whole things here, and you need to sign your web finance application and search first. And Microsoft provided the premium storage that provide the high performance and low latency for you. So let's say if you have so many content databases, then require more, let's say 20,000 IOPS, then you need to think about the premium storage. Yes. And one of the tips for VM planning is that don't scale up. People recommend to scale out your VM. Think about the pricing. Yes. You can go to Azure pricing website and just do a very quick calculation to see if you scale out your VM, compare with scaling up your VM, then compare the cost. You will see scaling up will, it's pretty expensive than scaling out. Yes. Okay. So every VM has a storage associated. Yes. And Microsoft Azure provides two types of storage: the standard and premium storage. The premium is pretty expensive and it's useful for application requiring high performance or so on. So remember, each data disk is supported up to 500 IOPS, but if you need to have higher IOPS, you can strip the disk, you can trip to this to achieve 1000 IOPS. Yes. And storage account and VM are supposed to be in the same version. I mean, this is one of the tips that Microsoft recommend. And in Azure storage, the temporary disk is the letter is this. I mean, by default. So don't store anything in temporary disk as recommended by Microsoft. And from internal storage, you can use SQL Server group to store your data across multiple disks instead of disk stripping. The disk stripping is useful when you want to achieve higher IOPS. Yes. Okay. So for VM planning. So first, just go to the website and check the VM specification. I mean, the number of different, the maximum number of disks, the number of core, and the storage type. I mean, the native storage or SSD. Yes. So let's say for web in the web front-end server, the A5. I mean, A5 is recommended. Yes. This is just my proposal, but it depends on your science. Yes, number of different factors. For example, request per second, the peak hour, the number of users in a peak hour, or so on. Yes. So A6 has, you can look at the application server depending on what you are gonna build in your SharePoint. The VM size may vary. For example, in application server, I use A6. The number of core is 4, and the RAM is 28. Yes, and maximum ISO that I can achieve is 4000. Yes, is multiplied 500. We have maximum number of this is 8. And for search require pretty high IOPS. And if you have a lot of form hosting a big repository of data, the index file and the core database may require more IOPS. For distributed cache, that I would like to recommend to use A5, I mean the VM A5. Yes. For database, you can consider using one of these options, the A4, with number of core is 8 and memory is 14. The maximum number of disk is 16. That helps you to store pretty much of data. And DS4, which can associate to the premium storage, that have very high IOPS, 25,600. Okay. You have any questions? So for in SharePoint, planning SharePoint required to have identity management. What is identity provider for your SharePoint platform? Storing SharePoint service account, responsible for authenticating the partner. Let's say relying partner trust or things like that. So the on-premise AD is one of the most common scenarios. Organization already have the on-premise AD and they wanna connect to SharePoint from hosted in Azure. This is one of the most common scenarios. The second scenario is hosted in AD. This is for the new company. I think so personally. The new company recently set up and they wanna have. They don't want to set up the AD Azure, the on-premise AD, then they push in Azure. And the last thing, the AD domain services. As far as I know, the Azure AD domain services cannot be used with SharePoint. I mean, it's still not supported. But I saw in the Google, just one guy writing the article in building the SharePoint form with AD domain services. Yeah, from Microsoft, there's no official announcement saying this model is supported. And what is the any requirement for federation trust? Let's say you have 80 on premises, you still have 80 on Azure, and you wanna establish trust. And it's just very similar like you establish the federation trust in the fully on premises using, let's say, ADFS, Active Directory Federation Services. Alright. So whether the Azure AD and on-premises AD, these are still providing authentication and authorization services and still used to secure your resources. But there is main difference between Azure AD and on-premises AD. I mean, from Azure AD, it is used to secure the cloud-based resources, while the on-premises AD is to secure resources in local network of a single app enterprise. And in Azure AD, you know, the protocol is SAML, the new authentication protocol, like SAML, the WS Federation, OpenID, or RESTful Graph APIs recently Microsoft announced. And in our premises, you use probably familiar with the KPROS or lightweight, I mean LDAP protocol. Yes. So for the case of having on-premises AD with SharePoint hosted in Azure, you have to establish the side-to-side VPN. Yes, and in Azure, Microsoft still supports that case. Yes. You see in the diagram, you have a VPN gateway to connect from on-premises AD to your SharePoint for SharePoint from in Azure. You can consider using the express route to provide a fast connection because it provides private connection between your on-premise data center and Azure data center. The nearest data center. So for Azure hosting AD, it's pretty similar. Like you build AD in on-premises. It's something like virtualizing your AD. Yes. And federation scenario, let's say you have your on-premises AD user accessing the SharePoint in Azure. Yes, you have to build a federation trust. So in Azure, it's provide. So one of the most common way is to establish the ADFS. In the past, but right now you can utilize the AD access control service to establish federation trust among environment on-premises and cloud-based. Yes. And this is a model of the federation trust between the on-premises and Azure, yes, using the access control service. So the recommendation for ADVM in Azure, yes, but I would say it still depends. It still depends. Yes, but this is the recommendation that Microsoft has. So just select the small virtual machine for AD because AD doesn't actually consume much memory and hardware resources. With the A2 or A3, yeah, and Windows Server 2012 also is recommended to adjust more, to use more features that Microsoft introduced in AD. Yes, and don't place anything. The AD databases sits for in the D drive, yes, the temporary disk, yes, because your data, may run if you reset the VM. Okay, so the next thing for SharePoint form in Azure is business continuity. Yes, it depends. But if you build your SharePoint, if you consider your SharePoint as a mission critical application, and high availability and disaster recovery is required, and one of the cases that require high availability is public facing deployment. Yes. So in Microsoft Azure, that's Microsoft Azure support three things for high availability. It's made more features, but right now, personally, I think these things is required for building high availability. Yes, for things like traffic manager, I don't think it's possible and with the high availability in SharePoint. So you have the availability set in SQL Server. Use Microsoft Azure still supports always on availability group or failover cluster instance with a third party and the Azure load balancer. So availability sets in Azure help you keep your VM in the different rack. So let's say if you put your VM, two VM in the same availability set, that is to make sure that these VM are in the different rack. Let's say you have rack server, you have one VM in this rack, and you have one VM in this rack. Yes, two VM in the same availability set to make sure these VM are on a different rack. Yes, and after you configure availability sets, so the Azure availability sets automatically assign. Put your VM in false domain and update domain. False domain is for the unplanned event. Let's say if your VM goes down, then the VM from in different rack is still alive. Yes, and update domain is for planned event. Yes, so let's say in case Microsoft wanna batch a Windows server and they need to restart the VM, so the VM goes down, right? But because the same VM in different rack, then only one VM is down. Yes, the different VM is still alive, keep functioning to your end user.
But we have a SQL availability group, right? Why do we need availability set for the SQL?
So the availability set is completely different from SQL Server availability group. Yes. So the SQL Server availability group is for a SQL Server specifically. Why? Is it for for the hardware and infrastructure as specific to Azure? Yes. When you put the two VM in the same availability set, then Azure uses the Fabric controller to put the VM in different rack. Right? Yes. It's completely different from its SQL Server availability group. And one of the recommendations is to create availability sets for tier. Let's say you have weapon and tier, you create availability sets for weapon and tier. You create availability sets for a trust tier, for application tier, for AD or SQL Server tier. Yeah, different tier, different role should have a different availability sets. And SQL Server high availability in Azure. Always on availability is fully supported in Azure. Yes, and Microsoft provides the step-by-step configuration for those who want to just configure in Azure. But the failover clustering instance right now is not supported in Azure itself. So if you want to achieve the failover clustering instance in Azure, you have to work with third-party vendor, the third-party storage. For example, SIOS, Data Keeper, or with the Equinix, because Microsoft right now doesn't support. Yeah. And you could leverage on a Windows Server 2012 service message for building failover clustering. Yes. And remember that Microsoft did not provide warranty of third parties with the failover clustering inside in Azure. Yes. So Azure Load Balancer is one of the features that you can keep your use to build the high availability. Yes. So the Azure Load Balancers work similar like any load balancer, distribute the traffic to different machines. Yes. And you can use the Azure Load Balancer connect into the on-premise infrastructure. All right. Now just talk about the DR for SharePoint Form in Azure. Yes. In with DR SQL Server, the always-on availability group is supported. Yeah, I just mentioned earlier. Database mirroring as well, and backup and restore with Azure Blob Storage Service. For Azure Backup, you can utilize the Azure Backup Valve for VM backup, or you can use store symbol to back up your data and push in on-premises storage just using source symbol.
They are still having database mirroring.
Sorry?
Database mirroring. I thought availability group always on and the mirroring is
It's pretty different from always on availability group, database mirroring. For performance and capacity for network improvement, you can use express routes to establish the private connection from your on-premises to Azure, the nearest Azure data center. Yes. For storage, just plan for capacity with your designated VM and look at the number of different data disks and the maximum IOBS that your storage supports. If you need more throughput, you can strip data disk. You can strip multiple data disks into single data disk. And with SQL Server VM specifically in Azure, you can open this URL. Microsoft has so many recommendations in terms of optimizing SQL Server performance in Azure. For maintenance and operation, Azure has a VM module. You can go to the VM and click on any VM that you want to see the status, and you have dashboard here like this. You can use PowerShell connect to your Azure subscription account and track your VM performance. And moreover, if you want to see your status of Azure in specific region, just go to this website, Azure status. And pricing, yes. These are what you have to plan and what you have to pay for your SharePoint form in Azure. The first is VM, virtual machine. The second is storage, yes. You may choose standard storage or you may choose premium storage for high performance. The bandwidth, the IP address, the number of different reserved IP that you need. The VPN gateway if you want to connect from on-premises to Azure hosted. Or as DNS, the backup, side recovery as an AD and store simple. Then Microsoft provides Azure cost estimator so that you can download from the internet. Yes. They also provide you some sample scenario to give you just the quick overview of what you have to pay for. Okay. This is the sample diagram of Azure with on-premises AD. Yes, you have different availability sets. You put one end in one example availability sets, distributed cache, the back end hosting search, for example, on database, and even AD. Yes. And you use the Azure gateway to establish the connection and express routes to speed up the network performance. You can go to Azure portal, download the high availability from templates and import to Azure. You don't have to manually create the network for the network for VM, provision VM. This one, the quick deployment of SharePoint form. Yes. Just go to Azure portal, search for SharePoint form. You have 3 templates here: SharePoint high availability, non-high availability, and just SharePoint trial. Just click. You will have a SharePoint form in Azure completely. So, if you want to programmatically provision the whole SharePoint form, including the resources, the virtual network resources, the storage, the VM, or any other resources, you can use Azure Resource Manager template. Yes. So when you create a new template, you declare, VM site, the virtual network, the IP address, the subnet DNS, And the template consists of JSON format that you can import to Azure. And Azure understands that format, and they have you automatically provision based on what you have in the JSON, the template. You can go to Azure Visualize website and drag and drop, different components before, compiling into one file, one template. And if you want to search more, available templates in Azure, just go to this website. And this is the manual deployment step. So first create a researcher and make sure you have an Azure subscription. And then create a virtual network, storage account, availability set if you want to achieve highly available in terms of infrastructure under Azure platform. And install and configure Active Directory. This is one of the critical things. If you don't have already have Active Directory, configure SQL Server, install and configure SharePoint, and advanced configuration for high availability or load balancing or so on. So this is we have just a few deployment considerations that are not supported these days. So we know Azure VM load balancing mechanism doesn't currently support sticky section. Yes. So if you have SharePoint 2010 hosted in Azure using the forms-based authentication or SAML, then consider this because load balancing doesn't support sticky section. But SharePoint 2010 is fine. Yes. Always on available cluster, as mentioned earlier, is not supported in Azure itself. And Microsoft doesn't provide warranty of using third-party storage. And one deployment is still not supported in Azure across the region. Even you deploy something called stretch frame. You have the weapon entity in this region, database in different region, and connect. Just read in the Microsoft article the requirement for building a stretch frame. For example, the latency much less than 1 gig GPS, right? And the methodological replicator may be an option you want to replicate for among the region. And Office Web App Server, right now you can go to Azure portal, you can install the Windows Server, download the Office Web App Server, configure and buy it to your server from. It's fine, but in terms of licensing model, Office Web App Server is still not supported these days. Yes, you need to. Is it much better to contact directly the Microsoft licensing consultant to see if it's actually supported or not? And SharePoint and Azure SQL is not possible. Yeah, I saw in the internet, in the Google, there's a guy writing an article about building SharePoint in Azure with Azure SQL. Yes, but Microsoft still has no official announcement, and the article is not written by Microsoft employee. Any questions? Yes.
How about migrating very legacy systems like MOS 2007 directly to Azure 2016?
2016, Azure 2016.
SharePoint 2016 with Azure.
SharePoint 2016 in the Azure, you want to migrate from
MOS 2007.
2007 to 2016. It's a very challenging question. I think you migrate the VM or the database. I think the database.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty long step. In terms of migration, you need to plan for the VM first, right? Let's say Form 27 doesn't require the hardware specification, right? But in 2016, 2013, 2016, it's required, the bigger the VM. For example, search consumes pretty much memory for index component and core component. You may need to have a dedicated search machine. Yeah, this is one of the things. The second thing is database migration. I think just a few minutes we couldn't cover all the steps or the approach to migrate from on-premises 27 to 2016 hosted in Azure. But I believe that Milan has a very great section in this morning talking about virtualizing 2016 Azure, right? Yeah, we may need to cover the migration approach from on-premises SharePoint in Azure in the upcoming Azure user group. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's actually, as
Yes.
Thuan said, it's a multi-stage question. First, you've got to get your content into Azure, and next you've got to upgrade it, or you've got to upgrade your content and then get it into Azure.
So it's no direct jump from MOS 2007 to
No.
16. We have step by step.
And that's the other question. To move from 2007 to 2016, you're going to need a migration tool.
Yep.
So you're going to have to look at one of several products out there.
Question.
Unless you want to spend 6 months trying to do it manually, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Can you migrate 2010 SharePoint to 2016 directly, or do you have to?
No,
do
you
it?
do not.
So you have to
You
go
need
to
a migration
2013.
tool. You can directly upgrade from 2013 to 2016, but any other version, you'll need a migration tool to do it.
So that means for the 2007 MOS, they have to upgrade to 2010 first, then to 2013, then to 2016.
Correct. If you didn't want to pay for the tool,
Yeah.
but I guarantee you'll save more money with the
Yeah,
tool
Yeah.
than the time you'll spend.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right.
Plus, the platforms are so different that you will run into problems even doing the step-by-step upgrade. Sorry, go ahead.
Any questions? Yep.
For the federated trust, the external logins, for example, social logins.
Social login.
So ACS is one option.
Yes.
So there's the new option, Azure, the Azure AD B2C. I think it's preview mode.
Azure B2C is actually what I know these days is two options in Azure right now. One is Azure Access Control, right? The second option is to build ADFS server, as you know, the federation application.
No, not that, Azure AD B2C.
Azure AD B2C actually I don't know, yes, actually, honestly.
In Azure, how do you scale out the SQL Server farm?
Scale out the SQL Server farm. How to scale out the SQL Server farm? Can you just elaborate more?
Performance, so you want to increase performance?
Oh, great question. So it depends. If you know, Microsoft recommends to have 200 gig for per content database, right? 200 gig per content database in 2013. 2016, I think 4 terabyte, right? Miller?
Yeah, it's going up quite a bit, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's just Microsoft recommendation. So, as a recommendation, just scale out the SQL Server by putting the content database into different SQL Server if you want more, right? So let's say if the VM has a limited storage, then you have no space, more space for more content databases, right? Your data is growing very fast. You don't want to store, over 200 gig per content database. You split content database, right? Right? In this case, let's say the VM has a limit of number of data disks, then you cannot add more database into this VM, right? In this case, just the two reasons. The first reason is you get more space. You want to get more space. The second is you have you have a secure IOBS, right? Because the current VM maybe doesn't have enough IOBS for additional content databases, right? Yes. So that's why Microsoft recommends to scale up rather than scale up.
And Thuan, maybe you want to mention about how multiple SQL clusters are possible?
How sorry?
How multiple SQL clusters can be used with the SharePoint product?
How multiple SQL server.
Multiple SQL clusters.
Multiple SQL cluster that I haven't built yet. Yeah.
Okay, so
You can
Microsoft-
share your experience.
Microsoft has a traditional build out for their own SharePoint environment, they don't have just one SQL cluster, they run multiple SQL clusters with the same SharePoint farm. And what they do is you take one of your content databases and you put it on one SQL cluster, and you build another web application, you put another content database on another SQL cluster. So you're actually not running one SQL cluster, you're running multiple SQL clusters. So you got redundancy and scalability, if you want to go that route.
Yep. Any more questions? Alright. This is references that I think is these are helpful to use. You can go to the website to learn more about how to build the SRDR in SQL Server. And this presentation is provided to all attendees. You can go to the bit.ly/SB on Azure to learn more about building a SharePoint 20,000 on Azure. But this is pretty just very overall of what we have to plan. Internet side, that's Microsoft recommend. And one of the things is understanding Windows as a solid building, the transaction, the language, capacity. And the best way is to go to Azure portal, create solid account and test calculation in the real world scenario. Don't just put a number in your calculator and to calculate the price in solid because it may not correct. Yes. And you must know the Azure subscription and service limits before planning VM virtual network and storage. And lastly, the Azure cost estimator tool is your friend in terms of pricing. All right. Thank you for joining.